Hey y'all, Coach here with Golfing with Coach, back with another podcast. Today we have a special one. We have HOURIGAN'S Club House in the house. This should be a great one. Let's get right into it right after this.
There is a long history about where HOURIGAN'S Club House came from, and
That's why I want to dive right into that.
all right. Well,
Let's dive right into that. Let's see what that's all about.
Yeah. My name is Ed Fayette, and I'm up here in Oswego, New York, just about 30 minutes outside of Syracuse, New York. It's about an hour outside of Rochester, New York. We are about 5 hours from New York City, so we are the other New York when it comes to that. I play out of the Oswego Country Club. If you haven't heard of it, if you haven't played it, I urge you to go on to OswegoCountryClub.com. Check it out. It is one of the best kept secrets in Central New York. So where HOURIGAN'S Club House came from, and we spoke a little bit about this the other day, is back in 2011. I've got two kids that are just getting ready to turn 32 and 36. They had a game room, and we more or less called it Nintendo World. It was Nintendo and Sega and everything else that would have been existing back in the 80s and 90s. And they left, and my wife and I found that we had a kind of an empty nest. And I said, you know what? I was just about getting ready to turn 50. And so you know what? I always wanted to, we found that we were just like wasting the space, not going down there. And, I kind of was just old enough to really not be a gamer, and everything like that. And I said, you know what? I always wanted an Irish pub. I just always thought an Irish pub was just kind of a cool thing to have and everything like that. And I don't drink a lot. We don't have kegerators or anything like that, but just we do like to socialize a lot and have people over. So this would be kind of a cool thing. So we turned what was the game room into HOURIGAN'S Club House. It is a very authentic. Maybe one of these days we'll actually do it from HOURIGAN'S Club House or HOURIGAN'S Pub instead of HOURIGAN'S Club House. So in 2011, HOURIGAN'S Pub was born, and it was named after my great grandmother, who last name was Hourigan, HOURIGAN, and she was right off the boat and from Ireland. And so as a nod to our past there, we decided HOURIGAN'S was pretty good. And since then, I built the golf room that I have. It's a 14 by 28 building, and I'll show you a little bit later. And my sister just a couple Christmases ago said, "Hey, well, I've got something for you." And as a Christmas gift, she gave me a placard, and it said HOURIGAN'S Club House. She goes, "Might as well continue the tradition." So the HOURIGAN'S brand has been created. HOURIGAN'S Club House got its start, and been going since it was kind of a 2020 concept that we put together, and been building it every year. We're almost at the 20,000 mark on Instagram, and we are approaching, in fact, probably by the end of tonight or tomorrow, I anticipate being at about 14,000 here on TikTok as well. We're moving really well.
I should be really close to 14,000. So why social media? Why take all this, your golf game and your similar and stuff? Why put it on social media? What was the thought?
You know what? That was not the intention whatsoever. Even when it was named HOURIGAN'S Club House or anything, that was not the intention. But I did so much research before I decided to get what I wanted to get and everything like that. And there was so much out there that was so helpful. I've got a background in radio and in broadcasting and everything. So being in front of a camera, being in front of a microphone, having done public events and stuff like that, this is kind of natural to me.
Yeah.
And so I saw what people were doing and how people were reacting, because I'm 63, so I'm not the youngest chicken in the coop here, and but it just astounded me that people were watching, and I was watching, and I wanted to see more. And so I said, well, we're going to take this. This was in about 2022, probably. I think we kind of started going there. Really, in the last year and a half or 2 years, I've really started to take the camera out onto the course and actually film, certain holes, or even I'll play rounds live and things like that right here in Horrigan's Clubhouse on the simulator.
Now, let me ask you about the simulators. Now, I've golfed on a couple times. Do you feel like it helps your game once you go out onto the course?
100%. 100%. I was going to I was driving about a half hour to Syracuse for 2 or 3 years pre-COVID. And there was a guy that had some nets, and he actually had, so I'd do some practice. And then before I left, I'd go to his OptiShot. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yes.
OptiShot was it was one of the infant, it was a big deal, and
Right.
you could hit, you didn't have to even hit a golf ball, but he had golf balls. He had the little foam balls, but you really didn't have to even hit a ball, because it was just the club path going over this infrared
Right.
light in the grass. But some buddies and I, we would go up there, and we'd pay $80. In fact, after a while, I actually paid him for like the year, paid him $300 or $400, and just went whenever I wanted. He was thrilled with it. He was a PGA pro setting this thing up in the wintertime.
Right.
And COVID, everything got shut down. And I kind of think that was probably the end of as many businesses. It was, he hasn't been back since, and
Right.
so I kind of thought, well, I've really enjoyed hitting golf balls, and this was maybe like once a week I was going up there, whether with some buddies or even just myself. And I said, I got to do something. I got to do something about it. And so I started doing some research and doing a lot of videos and watching a lot of stuff. And I went with this, and I would say that since mid or probably late 2020, early 2021, when everything got up and running and finally going and everything, I'm here all the time. And I'm pleased to say that this past year I went down to a 6.3. Getting a chance to actually swing a club and hit golf balls every single day. And I don't necessarily play 18 holes every day either. I'll go out there. The SkyTrek has a great thing on his practice range called the randomizer.
Yes.
And tell you what, I just did that last night, as a matter of fact. I think it's on probably one of the posts just
Yeah,
recently.
I think so. Yeah.
And it's so good that what I sometimes will do, I don't always do it, but it will let you go in, and I usually drop it in at about 65 or 70 degrees, and I go up to about 175, 180, which are my irons, basically.
Mm-hmm.
My 5-iron is 175, 180, and then I can work on some wedges and things, and down at the lower numbers. But the randomizer will say, okay, here's a 110-yard shot, so 110, I'll take my pitching wedge, and I'll hit a full wedge, and you have to see if you hit the green out of. And I've got a 4x4 pyramid stack, and I hit 30. That's 30 golf balls. So I usually base it out of 30 shots, and the next one will be perhaps a 135, which is right around my 8-iron. So I'll go over to my iPad and I'll move off the pitching wedge, and I'll tap 8-iron, and that might have a different color stream, a green line or something like that.
Right.
And so I'm able to, after a while, what did my shots look like? You can actually break it down after playing, when you're done 30 shots, 50 shots, whatever, and you can look to see, hey, what was not my average distance. I really don't care a whole lot about average distance. I care more about, let me know how much it carries. That's the important thing to me.
Right.
Because every ground condition, in the fall when the ground was wet, you're just getting carry. So you better know what your carry number is, as opposed to,
Yeah, I base everything off of my carry for the most part.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I played the tournament last Friday. This course could be an amazing course. Desert sea, it's a desert course. It was just crap. it was like it was just mush out there, and literally I would tee off, and I was like, all right, my carries normally probably honestly about 220 to 230 ish, um, my average. So we go, and the ball would be impelled in the because it was so wet,
Yeah.
and like no carry whatsoever. So and then I played a course today where I hit it and it hit 230, but it rolled out 40 yards.
That's all right. That's good.
You know, I'm like, hey, I hit a 300-yard shot today.
Yeah.
And my
Makes
buddy's
you,
like, there's no way in hell you hit a 300-yard shot. And I said, well, we teed off and the hole's 300 yards and I went past it. If
yeah.
you hit there's some hard dirt and it just rolled forever. I'm like, still a 300-yard
That's
shot,
right.
but
That's right, man. This game of golf is she's brutal at times. So
I will take anything I can.
when you can catch a good break, go with it. Yes,
Yeah, because nothing
absolutely.
else worked today. But how long you been golfing for?
I've been golfing. Oh boy, I think I was probably about 12 years old, 11 or 12 years old. I would hop on my Stingray bike and throw a Sunday bag over my shoulder and went to just a little local muni. It was actually called Easy Par. It's now, I think, called Evergreen or something like that. But a buddy and we would hop on our bikes and we'd put our little golf bag over our shoulders and we'd ride our bicycles about a mile and a half, 2 miles, and we'd go and I don't even know what we paid. Must have paid something, I'm sure. And we would just hit golf balls and just keep hitting them until it was time to come home, I guess. And then when I was a teenager, I got one of my first jobs was at Battle Island Golf Club, which is a New York State state park. Great little course. Could be a monster course if they took away the sand traps back in the 50s, I think 50s or 60s. So obviously public course keep play going, you know, and they've got limited crews and things. But it's a great little golf course, and I was just working in the pro shop for the pro. He gave me some lessons, and then when it was slow, I had to go out and wash down the three-wheel Harley Davidson carts with the steering bar and everything like that. And yeah, that was back in the 70s, and I'll never forget that. Never knew when I was leaving, and so when it left, if there wasn't a car at home or something like that, I would hop on the road and back in the day when you could, kids don't try this at home, but I would hitchhike. You know, you'd get a ride in 1974,
Oh
and
yeah, sure.
and if I didn't, there was always this little old lady that was selling raspberries and raspberries, strawberries, and blackberries. And I would get to her house. She said, "Oh, no ride today, huh, Ed?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Well, all right. What do you want?" And so if I got a little bit shy of her house, I actually stopped hitchhiking so I could just get a free bucket of strawberries every day, walking home and everything. But
That's crazy.
yeah, I played high school golf. I went to St. Bonaventure University and played college golf there. And then out of college, went into to public teaching and public education. Did that for 33 years. And my first few years out of college, I actually worked a couple summers and then a couple years full time when I was kind of like assistant to the pro. I'm not going to say I was an assistant pro, but assistant to
Right.
the pro. John Lisk was a long time. He was just a legend in the central New York area as a PGA pro. And I had the honor to work underneath him. And fantastic guy, great boss. Taught me a lot, not just about golf, but just life in general, which hopefully I've carried now 43 years later or so. I've carried it on and everything like that. But yeah, so I started then, and I've belonged to the Oswego Country Club since a family member in 1976, and then I became a single member in 1981 or 82, 83, somewhere in that ballpark, I guess, something like that. But yeah, we traveled some courses, everything. Back in my earlier days, I would do some local tournaments and everything. But yeah, just enjoy playing with the guys now, and I play about 5 days a week or so, something like that. Got a couple leagues that
Oh,
I
I
play
thought
in as well. Yeah,
took up golf at 46.
Okay.
I played football in high school, and then I got out and I played 7 seasons at the semi-pro level. But later in life, I didn't start playing semi-pro football. Well, I stopped playing when I was 33. Um, and then the whole time I was coaching high school football. I'm a high school football coach and a substitute teacher. So,
Okay.
uh,
All right.
so yeah, I just never really got. I've been I played baseball stuff like that, but football was my main thing. And now I'm looking at myself going, I was 5'9", 200 pounds. I ain't playing nowhere else. That's just it. And I wish I would have been smarter and took up golf back then.
Yeah.
I, I
Yeah.
think I think I would have been really good at it. Like
Well, but it
and now
sounds
I'm
like
battling age.
yeah, if you started, if you're playing 3 years and you're at a 15, I tell you what, that's great to hear, and it sounds like you've got the drive and everything like that to keep it, and you've got the luxury. Although I'm a big proponent for a golf sim, regardless of where you are, but you've got the luxury of going and playing golf in relative. You have to worry if
All
it's
year
too
round.
hot, obviously, and you'll find this out. Maybe you've already seen it over the 3 years. The more you can hit a golf ball, the better off your play,
Oh,
your confidence is a ton better.
oh,
I
for
come
sure.
out and I found the last again, not turning pro anytime soon, but just my confidence level is there. Again, you're going to hit bad shots, but I know what I can do. And if because we are amateurs, we know we're going to. Once you realize you're not going to hit every shot, and we're not going to hit every green, and we're not going to hit every fairway. Once you come to the realization, now we're going to do the best we can.
Yeah.
And there were rounds this year that I think I had a low of 73 or 74 this year a few times. That was pretty good. But I also had those rounds of 84, 85.
Yeah.
That
I'd
so
be
I
ecstatic at 85. I almost
that,
hit an 85 the other. I've hit 85 once. Um, and the other day I was playing and I was like, I was looking at my buddy. I'm like, dude, I think today's going to be the day. Then I double bogeyed the last two holes and
yeah.
then it came out at 86. I was like, this,
You know, you know,
he never said anything.
do you play at one specific course?
Um, I try to. Like I do, I have my home course where I'm very fortunate. I live between 3.5 miles each way. I have a golf course, full 18.
Okay.
In fact, I have I have four, I have a little par three course, literally a mile from my house. But I have a home course where I do all my practicing at, where they kind of like they just take care of me out there. I don't ever pay
Nice.
for driving. Range balls. I don't ever pay for that kind of stuff. They give me huge discounts, but I'm out there almost every single day,
Well,
just
I'll tell you
grinding.
something that I've been doing for boy at least 10 years, maybe even more. And it if you're an athlete, it's like so. Any athlete or anybody that just has that competitive drive, I think this might be a little piece of advice maybe to help you. Just get your iPhone, or even you can get a piece of paper or a pad or something, put it in your golf bag. I just put it out right on my iPad. And have you ever heard of a ringer score before?
Mm-mm.
So what I do, and I play mainly out of the Oswego Country Club, and we have reciprocals with I think 25 other courses in about a 70, 80 mile range or so. Um, and we go maybe once a week. We'll go to a different course or whatever. But
Okay.
so predominantly, I'm playing at Oswego Country Club. So I've got 1 through 9, and then I've got 10 through 18, and I try to every time that you birdie a hole. The first time I birdie that hole, I write down April 14th. So I put down 4/18, something like that for the coming year 2025. And my goal is to get a birdie on every hole. And you could even do that though, even if you wanted to do like say, I'm going to get a par, and maybe I'll put a little asterisk if it's a birdie or something.
Hmm.
And that just is that drive. And then say like the sixth hole at the Oswego Country Club is probably the easiest hole. It's a short par four. It might be the first one. So let's say April 15th, I get that. So I put down April 15th, and then I'm going to get maybe 6 or 7 or 8 more of those. And I just put a little check mark every time. Now I don't put the date every time. So at the end of the season, I say, oh, I birdied that hole 11 times this season.
Oh
Something
yeah,
like that.
I track all my numbers,
Oh,
everything. I
good.
track everything. I have 18 birdies, so I track everything. I can track how many rounds. So
Yeah.
I just track everything. 'Cause I'm a football nerd, and
Oh, you
we
stats, right? Yeah.
we like stats, and I
Yeah.
take videos of everything. And I'll go home, and I'm not trying to sound vain, but I'll sit there and I'll study my swings.
I do that too.
And I
I
just,
do
because
that.
it just, I have, that's just how I learn. Maybe it's just me coaching all these years. It's just the way it works in my mind. And
Yeah.
when I get lessons, um, I record my lessons because I can go back and listen to. I have a little wireless mic, and he's cool about it. He'll hook it on there, so I can actually go back and listen, and then watch my
Smart.
swing. But yeah, I that's just for me. I have to. I'm a muscle memory guy. I'm not for I'm an athlete. I would say yes, I'm an athlete, but I was never a stellar athlete. I will tell you this, you will probably find it really hard to find someone that can outwork me.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
how it is. It's just I wasn't good, so I had to work twice as hard to be good. And I tell my football players that all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like guys, I had to grind. I've been coaching for 25 years now, and guess what? I still learn something every single year I'm out here. You
Yeah.
know, you just gotta. To me, it's just that grind. You have to go out there and just, just that way. For me, how I do it is because I used to be very hard on myself and very hard on myself. Like you suck, blah blah blah. What the hell am I even doing out here? And the last 3 weeks, because I've gone through a little slump, I go, you know what? I go, when I get back in the golf cart, I already know what I did wrong. I'm going to find 3 things I did right. I'm going to say, hey, my tee shot, my driver is my go to. Um, my tee shot was great. I had good chip. My second putt was really nice. And I do that every time I get back in there. That
Yeah.
keeps me getting positive, and it keeps the confidence up. Like, okay, I did 4 things really good. I only did 1 really bad thing. So the ratio is pretty good there, right? So
Hmm.
that's just kind of how I do it for
Yeah.
myself.
Well, that's what the ringer score does. The same thing that you start off, and let's just say you start off with a bogey, you start off with a double bogey or something. I just I jokingly tell some people, I say, well, when you get to be 63, it's easier to forget. But I try to forget. It's over with. It's over now. Tell the younger me. I was never a club thrower or anything like that because I didn't believe in doing that because I knew that it. Well, first of all, the head pro would have probably kicked me off the course, and my dad as well. But it just wasn't. It wasn't fair to the other players that might have been playing. It's just awkward. Makes for awkward when something like that happens. So, but I'll get hard on myself. And what I wish the younger me would have known this. That I now so you get a double bogey. All right, well, that let's say at this time by the midsummer, I had birdied I think 15 of the 18 holes or something like that. Um, I know I can do that, and I birdied. You've birdied number 6 maybe 8 times at that point of the year, so you can get it. Play steady. Don't start pressing because of course pressing does nothing for the game
No.
except make more double bogeys. So I found that forgetting it and easier said than done. I believe me. I am easier said, but the more you can more that I can try to put that out of my head. Say, all right, well, I kind of goofed that one up,
I start laughing sometimes. I'm like, especially if I make an easy, like I'll miss an easy putt, I'll just start laughing. I'm like, I can't believe I like, and but I'll tell you, I threw the club one time, and I was up. We were up in Washington at my brother-in-law's country club, and I just wasn't playing. My brother-in-law's a 6 handicap. He's damn good golfer, right?
Uh,
Uh, and we always had this competitive. We're brother-in-laws, so we're always super competitive. He's naturally a better athlete than I am. He just
mm,
is. Um, but I'll work my ass off to get better than him. But never in golf. He's just a good golfer. He's a solid
good
golfer.
golfer. Yeah.
And we were out with a friend of ours there, and I hit. It was my hybrid. I don't know. Something happened. And I just went like this, just threw it on the ground. And I call him Big Sexy. Marty goes, "Let me ask you something." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Are you even good enough to get mad?" And
Good point.
I was like, it kind of pissed me off at first. And then I got in the cart, and I was like, "Nope, I'm not." And I got we got next to up to the putting green, and I looked at him and said, "Nope, I'm not." And and he goes, "See, then why get mad? You're not
Yeah.
good enough to get mad."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, am I the whatever the percentage top 20% of golfers? Yeah, whatever 15 handicap is top 20%, whatever that is. Those numbers amazes me.
Yes. Yeah. I
It's
agree
like,
with you.
wait a minute, I don't suck compared to a lot of people, but he was absolutely right. He goes, "You're not good enough to get mad. You're not getting paid to do this."
Yeah.
I kind of am, my social media stuff, kind of. But
Yeah.
um, he goes, and you've been playing at this point. I think it was not even 2 years yet. And he's like, "What do you get mad about? Like, you're probably one of the best golfers I ever seen that at this point in their game,
Yeah. I agree with them. Yeah.
and you're getting mad." And I'm like, "Yeah," because and he goes, "I don't care what John shoots." Like, and I know that's what it was. It was just me being competitive with John. And he goes, "Who cares what he shoots?" He goes, "He's a 6 handicap. You're a 16. You only been playing 2 years, and you're going to catch him." So that's kind of how the
Yeah.
conversation
And,
went. But he
and
was
so
right.
often we see the pros and we see the pros hit these greens and everything like that. But you if you look at the end of the season, some numbers that they'll put out, they're not hitting every green. They're not hitting every fairway. But boy, you know what they do know how to do? They know how to get up and down. And I don't think enough people, girls love the long ball, type of deal, so driving is sexy, if you can hit the greens, great, and that is something I really want to work on. I kind of have given myself. I'm working on some goals for 2025, and I just this past weekend just thought one of my goals is going to be to try to hit any greens that I have an 8, 9, or any wedges into. I want to try to hit that green as often as possible. I'm not gonna give myself a percentage. Like I want to hit 8 out of 10. I want to, in my head, quite honestly, same with you. I want to hit every green, but
Right,
but I
but
want to
that's
give
not
it
realistic.
a fair chance. There's in my head, there's no reason why I can't with a wedge 9, and I even thought I'd push it to an 8 to kind of, and that's about 135, 138 for me. Why not hit that green? So that's just something. I'm not going to give any numbers or anything like that, but every time out, I'm going to. You should be able to do this. Put a
That's
little
what I've
bit.
been realizing with my game. I have some issues with my back, so I'm only 5'7". I was 5'9". I'm 5'7", 180 pound guy. I'm not a big guy, but I love the fact that with my driver, I can sit there and I can hang with most big dogs. Like,
Uh-huh.
and they look at me like, "Holy shit! Like you can hit the yeah, I can hit the ball far." That's I don't now. Well, I say far, 250, 250 ish. I
Which
ain't a
is so
300.
far. Yeah.
I'm not a 300-yard guy. I'll probably never be a 300-yard guy, but I can hit it with run out about 250, and I would say 7 out of 10 shots are going to be on the fairway.
In the
I found for me, and I even took lessons on this because I am probably the worst chipper wedge player on the on the face of the planet. I was just, I literally, and I'm not kidding you, I could probably improve my game 4 to 6 strokes just in that. And I know that. And so I went and got a lesson and which helped out tons. And I'm gonna get another wedge lesson next week. um, just because that's where it's at. Like I grab and hit the, that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. I get 250 yards, great, great. And I'm playing with guys that I play at an RV resort. So most
Hmm.
of the guys are retired. So I can outdrive most of the guys. Now ask me how many times I beat those guys.
Yeah.
Not very often.
No,
Not very
no.
often. Maybe once or twice in the last 2 years I've been playing with them. Just because they hit the ball straight down the fairway, boring golf, and they're up there, and most of the guys are great chip and putters, and you're
Yeah.
just like, and that's where it's at. So that's what
You
my focus
you
has been
save
on the last couple of
yeah,
weeks.
you save a lot of shots if you can make those, putts. If you can make putts inside 5 feet all the time, that's huge. That's probably going to bring your handicap down. If you can make all your 5 footers or a large amount of your 5 footers, that'll bring your handicap down 2 shots. I bet. I don't have any
Oh,
stats for that, but
easy,
I'm just thinking
easy.
that. And then if you can make where 10 footers, 50% of the time or something like that. Just that's the name of the game. And of course, to get to within 10 feet or to get within wherever you might be, if you can chip and get it close, there's the name of the game also.
That's my biggest problem right now. I've gotten to where I can chip them and keep them on the green, but I'm still putting for 25, 30 feet. Seems like and my strong game, my best part of my game is my lag putt. I
Okay.
can get, so my goal is when I go up and I'm 15, 20 feet out, the likelihood of me making it is not very good. But I do increase my chances if I can make it in that 3 foot circle.
Yeah. My
And
that pro that I was telling you about that I worked
that's what
for.
I do.
Yeah, he said when you are outside 20 feet, he's don't look at the hole. I want you to just think of a good old just like a water barrel, just a big old bucket, and you just want to put it into that big old bucket.
Yep.
And what a great way of thinking. It really is.
So what's your dream foursome?
Wow, wow, dream foursome. Well, I got to tell you, and I don't want to has this isn't a hallmark moment or anything like that. But I was a young kid. I was 34 years old when my dad passed away at 59. And I got to tell you, it's weird to be 3 or 4 years older than where your dad was. And at that point, he was a very good golfer. I feel like I got a little bit of the genes from him. He played. For like he didn't play for Army, but he played in when he was in the Army. He played. I was a young kid when he explained the game, and you're a teen, just like yeah, sure, Dad. Um,
Right.
but he played when he was in the Army, either down in San Antonio, Texas, or up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, or somewhere up in Michigan, I think it was. But he was really good. Um, so I guess I'd like to play with him because we had some real good matches. The poor guy was 56, I think, 56, 57, and got diagnosed with cancer. Real good golfer. He had a heck of a short game. And as he got sick, he still kept playing, and the short game kept him right in there. And I'll never forget. He was my best friend at the time, and so this might sound kind of crass, but among friends you'd understand. I said, sure, I go ahead. I'm finally because he could play head games with me too, and so I'm just coming to the point where I was out driving him all the time, but all of a sudden chip putt, he's within 3 feet, makes the putts like jeepers creepers. So I'm now finally at the point. I'm at 31, 32, and I'm now maturing and maturing in the game of golf and everything. And I'll never forget. I turned to him one time in a joking manner. I said, "Sure, you're dying of cancer, and I'm finally catching you now. You just will not let me beat you, will you?" He just laughed, and we laughed it out.
Yeah,
So
that's actually that a great sense of humor for sure. Yeah, but
yeah,
that's what you can do at that point. So yeah, so
yeah,
your
yeah.
dad.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it was totally, and we both laughed in the whole bit and everything. And because at that point there was no, we knew, and
Yeah.
so to go back, I would say probably my dad. I would think my son is going to be turning 36 in April. He was like 7 years old, and we took him out a few times and the three of us would go out and play. But he was playing with a little plastic club or something like that. So I think that would be cool. My dad in his prime, of course, and I would take myself now probably, and my son who just got a brand new QI 35 just 2 days ago. He's pretty psyched about that out in Southern California, and the Santa Monica area.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that would be three, and then boy, I know a lot of people would probably say Tiger. Jack Nicklaus was an idol of mine growing up, but I'm going to come out with something you're going to say, "Wow, where'd that come from?" I've emulated, and not to say at all that my swing is his, but I've liked the steadiness of his demeanor and the steadiness of his swing, and that is Freddie Couples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know that came out of.
I thought you were going to say Gary Player. I don't know why. I'm like, he's going to say Gary Player, but okay. Yeah, that's true.
I think I just really, in fact, he just played really well, 62 or something this past week. So I've just, there's a poor guy that injuries really, his body broke down on him. Would have been so much better. But yeah, Tiger, absolutely. Jack Nicklaus, absolutely. But I've never met the guy. I've met a lot of different pros and everything, and I haven't met Freddie Couples yet. But I would hope that he is as nice of a guy as I've heard. And having this sim, it's allowed me to look at my numbers, and I don't get engulfed in the numbers, but I do know that it went off. If I lost it to the right, sure enough, yep, my spin number is going to be high, and things like that.
I dive into that stuff. I love knowing that stuff. And my buddy, he's building the sim. He didn't know anything, like he does, and he was like, and I'm like, well, I don't know what those numbers mean. And I said, well, if you're opening a slim, you better learn that stuff. But I just did it by learning it, just knowing, because I took these numbers and I could take those numbers and somehow in my brain it works on correlating how that swing path needs to be somehow. I don't know. I'm just a redneck, so I don't know how that works out in my mind, but it does. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Well, I learned I would say probably about a year ago, and I played this summer, and I was able to bring my handicap down. That I kind of noticed that when I line up, especially my irons, I would say even a pitch wedge, maybe not so much, but maybe a 9 to a 5. I don't have a 4 iron. I have a 5, and then I got two different hybrids. But I actually, through practice, realized that when I'm lining the ball up, I was actually coming through and not where I started square. I wasn't square at impact and everything. So I was kind of more off the toe. So I must have been swaying. So I kind of realized all that. And I actually now will line it's weird. Once you realize what you're doing, you see a lot of people on TV do it as well. I will actually line my ball on the inner half of my iron.
Me too.
And it just
almost to the heel for me.
Okay.
Almost to the heel for me.
Yeah, I'll say probably maybe a fourth of the ball, maybe about a fourth of the ball is maybe right on the center line. So I'm inside a little bit there, and I've had some people say, "Well, don't you worry about hitting that?" No, it's because as long as I swing the way I'm supposed to, my natural swing will bring it. And if I start on the inside, I will end up hitting it square. There's no way I'm going to end up hitting it off the shaft unless I, as amateurs do, and we occasionally will, if I somehow just go blank and my swing becomes something totally different,
Mm-hmm. So just to finish up here, what are your plans for 2025 with the channel and your golf game and all that?
Oh boy, you know what, probably going back to one of the first questions about why I got started, I wanted to kind of give back. And by the first day, I'm not a pro. In fact, when I did work for John Lisk at the Oswego Country Club when I was a young guy, it was a day that rainy day, and he had gone to play somewhere on a Monday or whatever, and around central New York. And this guy came in, and nice guy, and he said, "Hey, Eddie, I've got this problem with my putting." I said, "Oh, well, Glenn, I'll help you out." So I'm putting, I'm showing. I said, "Work on the putting there," because I was a college golfer and I knew everything at 20 years old or whatever. And
Right.
we're doing that, and it's probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, getting ready to close up, and the pro comes in. He says, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I went, "Oh no!" I then realized, and Glenn says, "Well, your assistant here is giving me a little putting lesson." He is he? And I don't know, Glenn, just stop right now. And yeah, he's helping me out. And the whole, oh, okay, well, hey, Glenn, we're going to close up the shop and everything, so we'll see you tomorrow. I went, "Oh God, no, please stay," and so he out he goes, and he locks the door. He says, "So you giving a lesson?" I said, "Well, no." He just asked me, "So you're giving a lesson?" I said, "Well, not really." And every way I tried to, he was like, "Yeah, you're giving a lesson." And he was a pretty big guy, and he had the big hand, this big paw, and he said, "I'm going to tell you," but he had a finger the size of my thumb, and he says, "I'm going to tell you," and every word, he poked me in the chest. He says, "Amateurs teach amateurs to be amateurs. You're an amateur. I'm the pro. I give the lessons." I've heard now that was probably the summer of 1981, maybe. And to this day, I can remember. In fact, I still could, as I just did, I can still feel my chest getting poked. So with that in mind, I never claimed to be a pro. Here's what I'm doing. Geez, I hope it helps you. I'm not one of those that on the course, I will only give advice or say anything about your swing if you ask me. I'll tell you, nice swing. Boy, that looks good. That was a nice drive or something like that. But I just, I won't tell you, hey, here's what you do. Now, you turn to me and say, hey, what did I just do there? And I play with enough guys that will turn to each other. It's like, what did you see there? Because that was not a normal swing for me or something. And they'll tell me, and that's good. But we're all kind of the same. Like only when we turn to each other will we do that. So I want to just kind of give back and make golf fun. And golf is accessible more than it's ever been in probably the history of the game. And not only this, I am a big proponent of new technology and everything like that at all. So I think TGL is fantastic. I'm a big fan. My wife actually says, hey, who's playing tonight? Which is like, whoo, we actually get to watch an hour of TV together.
Right.
She's of course a big Tiger fan.
Blowout this week,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But so I think TGL is showing that things can be done with. I think it's going to be great for the simulator business. To tell you the truth.
Oh, it's going to be huge for the simulator. It's going to
Yeah.
be, and that's what I was telling my buddy. I'm like, dude, you got now funding's always expensive, but I was like, telling
Yeah.
him, you gotta get this done. Like quick, like
Yeah. But
it's. I
you
mean,
can.
funding's when you're building a $750,000 building and stuff. Yeah, I can see where
Yeah.
funding's an issue, but yeah, for
But
sure though.
there's going to come a time, and you're already seeing it, that you can get a device that gives you relatively good numbers because we don't need exact numbers because we're not pros. So you have devices that you can right on your iPhone. You can just lean your iPhone up behind your back.
Exactly.
I think Swing Caddy, right?
Swing caddy, yes, swing caddy. I
Yeah,
have it. It's right over here. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's fantastic. I've got the SkyTrack. I've got the E6 package. I've got 96 courses. I've also got the new SkyTrack just came out with their new courses as well. So I got their courses, Pebble Beach and stuff like that. And I use an iPad, so I'm somewhat, though I'm happy with it, I'm somewhat limited because GS Pro is obviously the leader in when it comes to course software. But you got to have a laptop and this and that. And then I hear about so many bugs and everything. And boy, knock on wood,
That's
it's
how I used
always,
to do mine was all through an iPad.
yeah, it's
The
user error more or
HDMI
less.
cable link and Bluetooth connects and HMI cable to the TV. Bam, we're done.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you can see behind me there, I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what I've got right there. And that's the E6. And, that works out pretty well for me. And, but what I'm really impressed with, I talked to one of the big representatives for Repsodo, and she was telling me about the new MLM2 Pro. Tell you what, that is someone that is starting out, doesn't want to spend a lot. You can get a Repsodo MLM2 Pro for $699.
Yeah.
And you get with it, I think it comes in the package, you get 30,000 courses or something like that.
Yeah, I looked into that about a year ago, and when the first one hadn't come out yet, and um, I had the money, so I was gonna buy it, and it hadn't come out yet, and so I settled for the R10, which there's really no comparison between the two of them.
Correct.
And yeah, I kind of that was one of those. I ended up selling my R10 but that's where my impatience. If I would just waited 3 more months or
Yeah.
whatever it was, you could have got it. But
But
that's not who
I tell you
I
what,
am.
that's a great one right there. And I've loved my OG Skytrack. It has been
Oh yeah,
it's been great. I mean, and you go on to different forums, different groups, and they put it down. But I got to tell you, man, I haven't had problems with it. Again, I'm not on a PC. I'm on an iOS iPad Pro with an M1 chip. I'll probably go up to an M4 chip, which is the newest one. So maybe I'll drop another 800 or $1,000, but in time. Right now, everything is fine.
yeah.
If I were starting on, this is not a knock on Skytrack whatsoever, but if I were starting out again, and if it was 2020, and I'm looking again, but now here we are in 2025, I think the biggest game changer right now is the brand new Garmin Approach R50. It is an all-in-one unit. Go onto YouTube, you'll find all kinds of reviews on it and everything like that. I'm trying to get my hand on one actually, and I'm excited about maybe. I'm trying to track one down. But the neat thing about this is it's an all-in-one unit. No iPad needed. Everything is on I think it's a 12 or 13-inch screen that sits on top of the Garmin R50, and it's all the computer and everything is inside of
Yeah,
it.
it'd be
Yeah.
almost be like a desktop almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and what you don't even, if I would do it because I've gotten used to. I like to be immersed into the thing, so I got my my screen and everything like that.
Right. Of course.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but you just plug in your HDMI cable and you're there. But the thing that I think is amazing is I could play. They any course that Garmin's watch and rangefinder has, which is at 42,000, I think. I could play the Oswego Country Club every day, all winter long. Man,
Go back to be a stud.
how nice is that, you know? Or I could play, Beaver Meadows or Sodas and places that we go to for that. Yeah, and then a fun thing I tried to. I don't have all the course. I don't have the Mexican course today, but when I played Torrey Pines last week just for fun,
Right.
I played the tips. It's like, yeah, I'm not getting there. I think 89 or 90, something like that. I couldn't get to the fairway a couple times. But I play the white tees, I play the white tees
That's
now.
what I play too.
And so I think that's a good thing to. So that's getting for 2025, showing people that just play golf and have fun and use it that way. And you still can be competitive and have fun. Those two things can happen.
Yeah.
And they don't have to. And then personally, as I said, probably I just want to. I don't want to necessarily gain. I'm now to the point where I just want to keep my ball speed in the 130s if I can, and try to keep it steady. And that comes a little bit with exercise and things like that, which I'm not a huge fan of. But you got to do what you got to do. So either you want it or you don't. And probably more realistic or maybe a little more challenging is, like I mentioned earlier, wedge, 9 and 8 iron in my head every time hit the green. Barring that you're not you don't have a tree in front of you or something like that. But when you're in the fairway, from the fairway, and you're between 90 yards and 135 or 140, hit the green, and then if you don't, chip and putt, and that's kind of my goal for the year there.
Nice. And this is why I did this was, I wanted to get to know guys like me that golf, that put out content out there. Who are these people? What do they do? And what it was is, I don't know if you follow the Creator Tour or not.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like pretty invested in the last 2 years. I was pretty invested watching what they were doing. Like, this is some cool shit. This is everyday people like you and I. We're not, again, I'm a huge fan of YouTube golf. Huge fan of YouTube golf.
Yeah.
I watch Good. I watch, Foreplay. I watch Bob Does Sports. I watch a ton of them, right?
Well, who's done it? DeChambeau has really exploded.
Yeah. But I was like, there's guys like us doing the same thing. Just that's who I want to get to know. So that's why I always had my TikTok stuff, but I was like, that was the whole idea of this podcast, was to get to know the golf content creators who are not making millions of dollars off of YouTube. The guys that have the 9 to 5, they go to work, but they're still doing this on the weekends or whatever, and still putting out some pretty awesome content.
Yeah. I would. I'd come on once a month with you. I don't know, how often do you do your podcast?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it, because
you tell me, and anybody. I don't know who's on right now, but anybody that knows me, oh yeah, Ed's got stories.
Let's tell stories, golf stories. I got some today. Golly.
I tell you, just one shout out to a company that sent me their new wedges, and I've always been a Vokey guy, and I have a Vokey. Actually, you know what? I lost my Vokey to my son. He liked it. I said, "Go ahead, keep it. He's your kid." So he's got my Vokey. I think it was a 50 or 52, and I've also you can't go wrong with Cleveland either. Especially the new ones look amazing. But this summer, Lazarus Golf, Lazrus.
That's exactly who did all my clubs.
Well, I got their 3 wedges.
That's what I have now.
I got them right there. I've got them in there, and I tell you what, they are. I didn't know what to expect. I went to the range, I hit them, and wow, kind of nice. And I've got. I think I've got. They sent me 3. I've got 2 because I just don't carry. I've got my pitching wedge, and then I've got 2 of their wedges. I think it's a 60, 54 and a 60, or 56 and a 60 that I keep. I don't think I use the 52 or whatever it is. So I've got 2 of the 3 in my bag, and not just because they sent them to me. They're in my bag because I like them. I mean, they're.
They sent me a driver. They sent me a 3-5 wood, the 3 and 4 hybrid, all my irons. I did purchase the wedges, but the irons are just heavy. They're just heavy. They're just heavy, and so I went to these P790s, and after a day, I went home. I took all the P790s out of my bag and put all the Lazarus back into it. I'm like, because I'm playing in a tournament on Saturday, and I'm like, I'm just gonna put all my original clubs back in there, just at least my irons, just for this tournament, because those P790s, they're not the easiest things to hit.
No, I had back in the day when I played in college. I don't even know how I hit them now, but and I can't hit them now. The title is Tour Blades. Mm-hmm. And man, oh man! I finally stopped hitting them. I hadn't hit them for a while, and I said, and I had them, and I took them out for a round. It's like, you would have thought, like, who's this guy hitting? He can't even hit the golf ball. And I tell you what, it was like hitting the shafts. And again, it's obviously it's older me now, not 19-year-old me that right. played with them well. But the sweet spot on those things had to be the size of a nickel or a dime, because
Yeah.
Just
It,
different now.
that's how these things are. They're not much bigger than a quarter,
'Cause
maybe they're smaller than that. But when you flush them, it's a
yeah,
beautiful thing. It's
yeah. I
beautiful.
mean, I
It's a
played
beautiful thing.
and I love my from 3 years ago the Cleveland HB launchers.
Oh
Um,
yes,
and I got a
I
little bit of
took
a
out
flatter.
their launcher. I took out their driver
How
about
do
a
you like
year
it?
ago.
Yeah,
Um, it was the XL launcher, and I tell you what, that was the loudest club I ever hit.
you
It
know,
was wow, and I was
I've heard
like,
that.
people
Yeah,
turned, they were looking, and they were like, "That sounded good," and I'm like, "It sounded loud."
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
"Holy crap!"
I've heard that about. I went from I had some Wilson CI11s. I actually went with I got in fact it's over here. I've got the DeChambeau uh, one length irons. I hit those every
How do
now
you
and then.
like those?
They're good. I ended up with the 1 year that I played them. After a while, I took the wedge out and I put in a regular 9 iron and a regular wedge because I just couldn't figure it out around the green. Because they're all the length of a
Yeah,
seven
they're all
iron.
the same. They're probably the length of a seven
All
iron,
the other
probably.
ones I absolutely fine with, but um, I found that I wanted to get a little more height, and again after research and everything like that, just around just before COVID hit, really, it was early 2020. I went to a golf show here in New York and ended up hitting the HB launchers, and I hit them for about 45 minutes. I said, well, "Look at this!" And I've been using those. I'm looking at some different irons this year. I might even go with the new Cleveland semi-hybrid type of iron. But I'm to the point now. Whatever works in your bag,
That's how I
people say,
am.
"Oh, well, you got this, you got that." Hey, man, if all I know is I don't care how far you hit it or anything like that. Is what was your score? What was my score? Let's mark them down and we'll go from there. Type of thing.
I
So,
play with a guy that I bet you, and I'm not kidding you, he probably has three, four different brands of clubs in his bag.
oh
Like even
yeah,
his irons are mixed. He just,
yeah,
he just. But I tell you what, that he's a 10 handicap and he's pretty darn good. Like I know he's probably 10 handicap, but he's also 72.
yeah. Oh, well,
I
yeah,
mean, pretty darn
yeah.
good. Like
Really good. Yeah,
he goes,
whatever
and
you're
they're
comfortable
older
with.
clubs, but they just work for him.
I
And
still
that's
every
what
now
he
and
said.
then I haven't taken them on the course in several years, but every now and then I'll play around with my CI11s, um, and they're always a great. They're a great looking set of clubs, and they were good for a long time as well. So
Yeah.
I'm anxious. I'm going to be doing a couple posts in the very near future of. I've got some old drivers and some old irons and everything, and maybe I'll play Pebble Beach or maybe I'll even
Right.
go closest to the pin with some old irons and some new irons and just to see. I haven't hit them in a long time, so I don't even know what to expect. So that'll be if nothing else, it'll be humorous to see what happens. But
Right.
we'll see. We'll see.